faded. Did you see that?
No.
I've complained about this in the past, and I didn't do anything. I didn't change any settings, but just then the Merri Hour intro faded out and it didn't do a hard cut to us.
I saw a hard cut on my side.
Did you really? I wonder if it was like an issue on I saw like an actual fade. Maybe I'm just losing my mind. I don't know.
I mean, it happened to me last time on using your account on my computer. I don't know. Maybe it
you saw a fade last time?
Yeah, because like I laughed because like it was our faces just there without the overlay, and we weren't ready for it. I was just like, wait, did it show like that?
What did the people see? Everyone in the live chat, was that a hard cut or was that a fade? Am I going nuts? Please tell me. We have a lot of people here.
Time killing.
MK Songbird, Travis, Mirror Domains, Sam's here, Steven's here. So many people are here. Before we get to a single topic today, we're going to do this right up top. We're going to give some Patreon thanks to Marquis, Avery, Andrew. So this means no poking fun at Andrew today. He's a special Patreon shout out member of the live chat.
I didn't do anything. I didn't say anything.
We also have to thank Jared, John Gregory, and MK Songbird. You guys rock. All of you rock. I love our Patreon community. I love our Patreon Slack community. MK Songbird in particular makes sure that even when I'm running around and so busy that I'm always up to date on all the latest movie news, and I appreciate it. I need that help right now. But thank you to you all for supporting this channel.
When James Gunn drops things at 9 p.m. on a weeknight.
Yes. Yes.
Good gosh, golly.
I'm so confused. All of like, what does that mean? I don't know what that means.
It just like appeared with no intro.
Like the intro.
Were we just staring?
The intro definitely played.
Staring weirdly at the camera without saying anything.
I can't wait to go back and look and see how it came out.
Our faces just blankly looking at the video.
Really. Where are you, Matt, right now? Why don't you tell everybody why your background looks different?
It's the holidays. It's very simple. It's the holidays, so I came home. And I'm in Jersey, and you can tell because we have all New York football glassware.
I will rep the West Coast football team. Matt, as promised, I have kept this sweatshirt on since Monday night. I have not taken it off.
You can wash it eventually. Yeah, I was like, you can wash it eventually.
No, you can't watch hoodies because then they get all like fuzzy. The fuzziness goes away and then they turn into cardboard. But you obviously have to wash it. That's why I have a mile high supply of hoodies.
So
that when you do wash them too much and the super soft fuzziness goes away, like you just move on to the fresher hoodie.
So you just wear it a bunch, throw it out, and go to the next one.
Well, it's like a fleece. Like I was complaining about my fleece that night. If you wear a fleece too much and you clean it often, eventually like the fleeciness will go away. It will turn into cardboard and it won't keep you warm anymore.
Such a shame.
Yeah, really. That's one of the most terrible things that can happen. A fleece or a sweatshirt losing its like soft and fuzzy fluff.
That I get though, because those are comfortable and you want them to last forever.
Yeah. We'll tell everybody, Matt and Amelia got me the nicest birthday present, and they took me to a Chargers game on, was it Monday? Did I say Monday? It was Sunday night.
Sunday, yeah.
Already, yeah. See, clearly losing my mind, but it is very special to have friends that ask you, what do you really want to do? And when you tell them what you really want to do, they insist no matter what on making that happen. And that's exactly how that conversation went. And you guys did it. You got tickets, and I had the most amazing time ever.
It's very simple. What do you want? Here you go.
Games often.
Yeah.
More.
It's the simple as just like, what do you want in life? I don't know. So then just do it. Why would we waste time doing something else if you don't actually want to?
It was very nice. I appreciated that. Listen, I'm a fantasy football fan before I'm a football fan, so I don't think you can take my allegiance to any particular team seriously. Right now, I'm most allegiant to Jalen Hurts because he's my quarterback in both of my leagues that I'm in the playoffs in.
So the one league I'm in the playoffs in is my dynasty league, and I started last night with George Kittle, 20-something points just from George Kittle just to start. So we're looking good. Round 1 playoffs.
You're not in the playoffs in either of our leagues?
No.
Oh. You were like so close. You were probably like the one that was closest to either getting in or not then.
Yeah, I started like 6-1 in one of the leagues. I was, I just had a real bad injury set up in the last 2. But yeah, not fun.
I did earn the bye in the Patreon league because I'm number 2 behind Sam. But in our critics league, I think it's going to be close. At this point, I'm projected to win, but my opponent has Kenny Walker. And it was like the whole damn game. I'm like, cool. He's only going to post single digits. And then he had one really long run. And sure enough, that run was worth like 3 or 4 points. And now I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
It's only one player. You can balance it out pretty easily.
We'll see. I'm still projected to get 10 points higher, but you just never know. Yep. You never know. Where would you like to start? I think we should probably start with one of the 2 teaser trailers.
I mean, we've already got a super chat, so why don't we just
Oh my God, yeah. I totally forgot. Travis, how could I forget about your super chat? How about that Barbie teaser? Surprisingly great.
I don't know if it's surprisingly. I think I've expected this from the cast they put together and who's writing it, who's directing and all that stuff. Like, we knew this wasn't going to be I don't want to say conventional. I guess conventional is the word. Like, I didn't think it was going to be a conventional Barbie movie. This was always going to be a little weird, offbeat, a little off color. And I am very digging everything I have seen so far. The energy level is like up here.
I think maybe unconventional could be the right way to describe it. I think the thing that I would have feared most with a Barbie movie is that it would have had that kind of like typical studio gloss to it and a studio-like approach to the narrative. Yeah. And of course, this teaser doesn't really give us too many story details there. But when Greta Gerwig says she's going to make a Barbie movie, I wouldn't expect any of that. Like, she's going to do something completely different and something that I think is going to be more meaningful ultimately than just being like, cool, look, a live action Barbie movie.
Yeah, just the idea that dolls have been, girls have had dolls that are only babies, and then along came Barbie and changed the game, but also addressing upfront everything that comes along with the Barbie doll and all the I don't want to say again controversy, but how things have evolved since Barbie's come around and how Barbie can evolve with that. So I think we're going to get a lot of really good commentary. I think we're getting a lot of very funny performances. Ryan Gosling just showing up in some of those outfits and the faux, the dance scene, dance fight scene that it looks like he's jumping into in that one quick cut. No, I am here for it. And the costume design looks crazy good, which we've again already seen in the stills. So
yeah, I'm already seeing some people talking about Oscars 2024 buzz over that kind of work. And it makes sense, especially with, Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig's history at the Oscars, what they actually look like in the footage and the hype around a movie like that. I mean, that would be a pretty pleasant surprise if this time next year we're talking about a Barbie movie actually getting some recognition in that sense. I would love to see it happen.
Yeah, it's got the right trajectory. Again, we'll have to see what happens when it comes out. We'll have to see how it's received and lots of things before we start talking awards 2024. We're not even through awards 2023.
But honestly, not even this is what happens every single year. We have this conversation and we feel like we're overwhelmed by it, but you see the light at the end of the tunnel, or not even at the end of the tunnel, but even thinking after nominations are announced, it'll be a bit of a breather. But that's right when Sundance happens, and before you know it, you're already talking about early contenders for the next calendar year.
Yeah, that's fair. But yes, as a teaser trailer, quite good, quite very good, I would say, for Barbie.
I like it a lot. And I think just the amount of internet hype I've seen bodes really well for this movie's chances when it comes to box office, especially if it does wind up being really good. I think this could wind up being one of the biggest hits of 2023.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, cast involved, everything involved. Bah.
That cast.
So good.
Matt. You were supposed to start a conversation, my friend.
Yes, I know. We'll get there.
Let's make sure we do it in time.
It's been. Yes, I know.
Vincent's so supportive. He's always here, giving super chats. Vincent, this is going to happen. Hey, Perri and Matt, loved Avatar: Way of Water.
We'll get to
think
that later too.
Yeah, we're going to get to Avatar Way of Water later, but I think you are not alone on that. And for anybody here who clicked on this video because they saw the headline and the thumbnail, the latter half of this video is going to be for Avatar The Way of Water spoilers, so that just in case anybody out there has not seen it yet, it did just hit theaters, we could talk about a few things before we have to cut people off so they don't get spoiled. So that conversation will happen soon.
Actually, before we even get to the other trailer we saw, we can do this very quickly.
This makes me so happy. I tweeted right before we started. I was ready to be like a big stubborn baby about the possibility of Lee Janiak not coming back to direct more Fear Street movies. I was kind of getting the feeling that that's how things were going for some reason. And I couldn't imagine anybody else like exciting me to get behind the lens of those movies and like really seeing that kind of potential in a filmmaker. But if you've seen Watcher, I think you're probably feeling pretty good now. I'm just looking. Watcher is Prime Video.
No, Watcher's actually on Shudder.
Shudder. Okay,
Watcher's on Shudder.
You're totally right. But I highly recommend watching Watcher. Maybe she'll cast Micah Monroe as the opening kill.
Man, I would love that. But I still like, do we know what they're doing with a new Fear Street? Do we know if it's a different decade or like how that's going to be approached? Or
and also we should probably source this report too. It comes from someone you have seen quite frequently on this YouTube channel, thanks to FYC. This is from a report from Above the Line, which of course is where Jeff Snyder works. So it is his sources that are putting this out there. And I believe the details go on to say there are slim details on the film right now. It was reported that the project will be produced by Chernin Entertainment, which also produced the original trilogy. And I think there isn't all that much beyond that in terms of specific producers that are returning or not. And also, I think this article makes a point of whether or not Lee Janiak is coming back. I think that is still unclear. And I don't just mean, obviously, she's not coming back to direct, but even coming back in some sort of, producerial capacity, like as an executive producer or something.
Yeah. I mean, again, I would have loved if Janiak came back because there's the directorial continuity already there. Like she's already done 3 of them. It would have been, the through line would have been a lot easier. I'm not saying that Chloe Acuna won't pick it up very easily or whatnot, or that we're even going to get something different. But it'll be interesting to see where the story goes, if it's that much of a continuation, if it does something a little different. I would like to see Chloe do something a little different personally, because, I'm a big fan of not trying to copy what's already there and using your voice to make another entry of a sequel or something like that. So I do hope there's some kind of differentiation, because again, Watcher's so good, but it is straightforward psychological horror. There's not much else except that ending, which happens. And like, that is very much a slasher in a way, but that's all of minutes throughout this entire like suspense driven psychological thriller. And Haratma feature kind of the same thing in VHS. So it'll just be interesting to see how it plays out. Again, we don't box directors into anything, like they can do anything, obviously, but the thoughts there.
I forgot about Ratma. Yeah.
Ratma.
There's that too. But I think it is kind of built into the Fear Street storytelling structure that it necessitates each installment having a slightly different feel. Obviously, connectivity is still important, but I do think that now that I'm being more open-minded and like the filmmaker that has reportedly been recruited, I definitely see a lot of potential in her being able to do her own thing with this. I'm curious to see what that'll be. What would you prefer, Matt? Would you prefer them continuing on with a new set of characters or bringing back the surviving characters from the original trilogy?
I mean, maybe both. Like I think I'm in the camp of like there is no reasoning, obviously, to jettison the old crew, but like I would like a little fresh blood. I would like there to be some kind of collaboration where it's focused on new characters, and we do see the other ones, they come in at a certain point. But I guess to answer your question specifically, leaning towards more fresh and new.
I'm very torn on the matter. I really like those characters, and I think given the cliffhanger, it would justify maybe them staying involved, although now that I'm saying it, you don't really know who steals the book, and that person could have absolutely no connection with those particular people, so I guess having new characters is very justifiable as well, and I know that the stars of Fear Street are all mighty busy right now, so as long as they're busy and I'm seeing them elsewhere, then I'm open to having a new group of main characters.
Yeah, and again, connectivity, how they play it in, it's all going to come out later on. So like, there's no worry. But I think in a perfect world, I think letting Chloe kind of do a little bit of her own thing is a little more in my wheelhouse.
Yes, please. All right, we got another super chat from JG. You were championing and rooting for Coda last year for Best Picture. What is that film this Oscar season that you're really rooting for? I think when it comes to a Best Picture nomination right now, I'm probably rooting hardest for Glass Onion.
Okay.
I think it's got a real chance, but I also think it's one of those movies that's in like the bottom section of my current predicted nominees. And I think it is very, very deserving of getting that nomination. So that's what I'm rooting for most right now. But when it comes to movies with a potential to win, probably a no-brainer. I feel like people can sense this coming. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Yeah.
I want to see it win so badly.
It's so again, if I'm going to take one of those ones that's a little outside, like you taking Glass Onion, I think my outside one, I'd love to see somehow RRR get in here and just do the unthinkable.
Guess what's in my number 10 spot right now?
It actually is.
I really do think that there's going to be one slot this year that goes to something that is I mean, obviously Everything Everywhere also falls into this category, but that's far less traditional, but also feels like an out of left field nominee. And I think of the batch that I'm considering, RRR really does have the best possible chance of getting it.
Yeah, so RRR is my outside, but I'm the same as you with Everything Everywhere. I mean, we're 100% just all in on that movie, and especially now knowing that it makes people like Jeff Wells miserable. So, like, not only do we get to vote for Everything Everywhere and get that great movie the attention it deserves, but all the dinosaurs out there can go cry their little heads off when it wins.
Do I dare ask what he said about it?
Oh, terrible things. Absolutely terrible things, that anyone who likes RRR is basically the boon of film criticism, and it's just millennials who don't know what they're talking about, and this is the death of the industry. So I absolutely would love if Everything Everywhere won and he can go die in a corner.
Typical Jeff Wells. I ask you to explain what he said just so nobody actually navigates over to his website to click on these things. Do not justify
give him traffic.
that being posted by giving him traffic. So that is why Matt just paraphrased.
I paraphrased something way more hateful and disgusting, by the way. But came into my timeline because I have him very muted from the time he tried to make fun of us on our live stream.
Yeah, I've been made aware of a couple things of that nature. How dare a human being smile and enjoy what she does?
How dare.
Sad world, if that's the case you're making. You ask, like, we're not going to, Hoshi. Can we talk about the new Scream trailer real quick? If not, it's okay. If not, it's not okay, actually.
I'm touching your poster.
Wait. I don't know what I'm doing now. I should also bring over my my beautiful ghost face.
Your mask.
I should take a picture of this sometime. So the like, you know, the geography of my apartment better than other people, but the mask right now is like sitting on the ledge of the loft in a way that when I'm sitting at my computer desk, if I like lean back and look up or something, all I see is Ghostface peering out from over the ledge of the loft. And like, one day I should just take a picture of that view, because it always makes me, like, it doesn't scare me. It makes me smile every time I lean back. And I'm surprised to see it there.
He's just checking in and saying hi.
Yeah, that is kind of what it feels like. People heard me blab about this teaser trailer on Countdown to Scream 2023. So I'll give it to you first, Matt. What did you think?
I'm excited. I mean, like, we don't see much more than what we already knew, I guess, in a way, because we already knew that the subway car was a set piece. We already knew, like, I think they've already had the photo of Ghostface on the subway with even a few people in other Ghostface masks. So it's nothing quote unquote completely new, but at the same time, it is still exciting to see it all happen in person and see it all like kind of come out. Because there was one obviously, like, we don't know anything about the story, but someone was theorizing online, like, well, what if all those ghost faces are actually like working together? What if it's not like a Halloween mask and those are actually like a cult of Ghostface kind of thing? And that's what got me really kind of like, yeah, I would like that explored very much so.
I don't think they're going that route. I don't get that kind of vibe. I don't get that kind of vibe from this trailer. I don't get that vibe from this trailer. And I don't know. I mean, I guess I never say never with these types of things. And I know the filmmakers are involved are really smart. And if that's what they wanted to do, they could probably pull it off well. But I don't know, like a cult of Ghostface thing feels like it might not work super well in this franchise. And it also feels like it was kind of just done in the previous film, given those characters' motivation. We didn't necessarily see like a large cult of Ghostface where there are many people behind the mask, but that is what those two represented in somewhat of a sense.
Yeah, but I guess that was also just remaking.
I guess they're more like the cult of the stab movies rather than the Ghostface. So there's a difference there.
And again, like those are that was kind of like obviously a play off the first film with the two killers, and like it's those parallels. So I think if you really want to do something different, because now we are at this point in a franchise where a franchise would go off the rails, I think that is the one way that Scream could go off the rails in a very believable way. It just, Ghostface has become such an iconic, like, look at true crime and look at like all these things in modern culture that like idolize murders and stuff like that. So if you take it that route, you have a perfect reason why Ghostface could become this popular icon that everyone wants to emulate. And like, now we're in New York City too. Like, it's way harder to chase people around. It's way harder to do these kind of things. So you need numbers, I think. Yeah.
I mean, it's the way you explain it, it could definitely make sense. I'm still betting against them going that route, but I'm not going to write it off completely. I think this is an A+ teaser trailer.
Yeah, it does it right.
Obviously does not give us any story information really, or things that we did not already know about the story, like it taking place in New York City. But I don't know, just like, to me, it feels like it embraces the spirit of the franchise and the genre loving spirit of the franchise, given all the characters you see on that subway car. It just like, this to me is the perfect like tease for the main trailer. And also like, I'm already max hyped for another Scream movie. I am innately like that. The fact that I saw this trailer and it made me even more excited than I ever expected to be is a major accomplishment.
And also, I don't think, the not to say the reveal, but they want you to think that like Mindy getting stabbed is a thing. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. This is
get stabbed.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is a Scream trailer. This is very much what they want us to believe, and everything they want us to believe, they put there purposely to make us think that.
So I was talking a little bit about this with Joel. Now, because like he called me out, now I'm going to sound obnoxious when I say this, but I was able to interview Kevin Williamson for Scream 2. And I had asked him at one point in the conversation, if you could bring back a Scream 2 character for a future film, who would it be? And like, the way I phrased it was, I was asking him for a living character, I figured he'd say like Joel the cameraman or something. He said Randy. He said if he had known that the franchise would continue on as long as it is, then he would not. He wishes he did not kill off that character, because there would have been so much more to explore. And one of the specific points he brought up was maybe exploring how Randy's relationship to horror movies changes as he goes through these experiences. And given the fact that Mindy is the movie buff of Scream 5, maybe that's what we're seeing here. She loved these movies, went through this horrific situation, and now she's like out on Halloween seeing people bring movie characters to life, and she's having a very different response to them.
Yeah, the trauma response. I think that's very interesting, and I hate to disagree, but with Mr. Williamson, but I think killing Randy in that point, as much as that as much of that exploration is actually really interesting, and that would have been a cool thing to watch that evolve over films. I don't know. That killing off Randy just drove home the point that anyone could die at any time. And I think that was necessary for the movies to come as well, because it really was like that finite, like, oh, this character that survived the first one, anyone can go. This is fine. And so like that sets up the rest of the movies to keep us on edge in that way.
So I wouldn't change Randy's death for anything, because I think it's one of the best scenes in Scream 2. And because now we do have a character like Mindy to represent that kind of person in this situation, and that mentality and that knowledge of horror and filmmaking. But I see his point. I see his point.
I see his point. Yeah, absolutely. Again, that's a great exploration. It's something that more films should do, honestly, because way too many films just dive into the like, yeah, if you're a horror lover, you love sick shit and you just love seeing murder and stuff like that. And it's like, no, there needs to be more exploration of like how these two things are very separate from one another and how you can see reality and go, nope.
So here's another little thing to talk, not little thing. Here's another thing to talk about, because I hadn't seen this image when Joel and I recorded our trailer video the other day. EW has an exclusive image of Ghostface, and it seems that worn down mask from the poster is indeed in the movie. And, you know, even though we're getting this very clear image right now, I'm still kind of skeptical, just because I keep remembering the chrome mask conversation. And like, we did theorize a lot last year about the possibility of different Ghostface mask styles. So like, I'm still hesitant to put so much stock into it. But, you know, Joel was busy talking about the potential of like, maybe someone has gone back and stolen one of the original killer's masks and has brought it back. And that's what we're seeing here. And I mean, I guess it's possible, but I'm still looking at this image. And even though the tone of this image feels like dark and sinister to me, it also feels like in the context of the full feature, it could legit be like a group of people getting dressed for Halloween and they throw on like a variation of a Ghostface mask, and it'll feel completely different in the actual movie. I don't know.
So here's where my back to the cult of Ghostface comes, because maybe this has become like a symbol, a religious image almost to these people. So like the original mask is the one that is like the alpha, if you want to say, or like the top dog in this entire hierarchy. And like they think that's what like gives them the ultimate power. I like, if you really want to go full cult phase, like that could be, yeah, like they go for the original mask. Like, we need the original mask to like fulfill the prophecy.
You know what cult related idea, like in my mind at least, as I conceive of it, I like better is the idea of like maybe the main killer having that mask being connected to a previous killer, but almost like all of the regular Ghostface mask wearing people are contributing because they're influenced by the past crimes in the stab films, but they're almost unaware of it.
Interesting.
Like,
okay.
Like by being, let's say, like by being on a subway car where a Ghostface killer, an actual killer, is attacking someone, they're kind of like abetting in a sense, but without knowing it.
Interesting. Okay.
Like almost like kind of reflecting the idea of how brutal that kill is in the opening of Scream 2. Like the thought that you had all of those people in masks, so she couldn't tell the difference between a real killer and anybody else until it was too late, kind of thing.
Yeah, I dig that. I play into that. That is definitely one. It's just, I don't know. I'm just really into the idea of just like we've blown the Ghostface thing out of the water now. We have way more of them, and it is more dangerous because, again, like to me, I think you need that in a New York City setting, because there's always like power in numbers, that kind of thing. So even on a subway car where there are other people there, either they're gonna get involved or not. And like, you know, we lived in New York for a long time. You just look the other way when weird shit happens. You don't get involved. But who knows? Maybe it's a scenario where people try to help, you know, the survivors and try to defeat Ghostface. It's like you need more of them to actually make it some kind of struggle.
You do. And then maybe he's got a whole army of Babadooks behind him too.
Baba don't.
I like that shot in this. Just one other thing that someone was pointing out to me, that because like I also asked Joel if he thought this, if the it was basically like a cheat in terms of how they edited the trailer. Like it's actually not one big scene, but it's moments from separate scenes. Like maybe Mindy's having her own moment in a different scene, and then everybody else that we see here is actually in a scene together. And I've been scrubbing through and trying to see if I could see like clearly enough that these scenes have come from different parts of the film, but
because to me the lighting, now that you mentioned that, I thought the lighting was a little different on the Mindy versus like the group shot.
So I think what's like I'm scrubbing through and watching this like as I'm talking, so I haven't really like fully thought it through well enough. I think there is a case to be made for that, because based on like, if we're not like crossing the line, at least based on where Tara's standing, it would be a very awkward position for her body to be in if Mindy was indeed behind her. But when I look at the wide shot of all of them, maybe that hand next to Sam is, I can barely see the hand.
Detective work going on.
Maybe that is Mindy's hand. Now I'm scrubbing forward to see what Mindy's wearing. That's not possible because that hand has a jean jacket sleeve, I think, over it, and she's wearing an orange sweatshirt. So I do think that this has come from two different scenes.
I now that you say that, thinking back to the lighting for me, I think I forget why I noticed it, but like Mindy's scene seemed a little darker lit and the other scene a little lighter lit. But like, yeah, again, this is a teaser trailer before the real trailer, and this is also just trying to get us saying these kind of things and think these kind of things and see Easter eggs and be like, what am I catching? What's here? And that's just all manufactured. That's manufactured by the edits.
The other thing that could lean into the lighting that you keep bringing up is that like maybe Mindy is the only one having this breakdown of a moment in it, like where she's having a panic attack alongside her friends, and that could be contributing to her lighting experience being different from theirs. So that is also possible. I just don't think that's the case here.
And hence
there was one other So I highly recommend checking out the Witching Hour episode with Radio Silence, but I'll at least tell you this story, but you could hear it straight from them and much longer. I believe the way that they had put it was that when they were first getting started, they would pitch things and then they would get Radio Silence back. And so they embraced that name. So basically their name came from not getting any responses to their pitches early on.
And that's great. That's amazing.
Cool, humble dudes. Annabelle's here. Nice seeing everyone again. The teaser was cool and nice seeing my hometown get bloody again. If I don't see a hobo or street performer get stabbed on a train, I'm calling BS Oibe. Shout out to Mia and Rogers. A nice weekend to all. I hope you
happy weekend to you as well, Annabelle. Yeah, one of those street performers that interrupts a subway car when you're trying to listen to your music. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, or like a dance performance.
Get the hell out of here.
Ghostface just shuts it down.
Yeah, those ones that almost kick you in the face every time, and you're like, dude, just back up, please.
I could complain about it because some, like more often than not, maybe I don't have the time or the patience for it. But then sometimes someone will pop on a train and they're really damn good, and I'm like, oh my God,
I'm pro. I'm pro the act of it. Yeah,
people in the world.
I'm pro the act of it and making your money that way. I am just anti almost getting kicked in the face. Just do it over here. Just do it there in the center.
Fair enough. No one wants to get kicked in the face.
Not really.
All right. Shall we move on to Babylon?
Babylon. Yeah.
Babby. Have you nicknamed
Babylon.
Please don't nickname this movie.
Oh, I already have. Don't worry. I've got that.
I don't like it. This right here is our review of Damien Chazelle's Babylon. I'll just read the IMDb synopsis for this because I have it right here. A tale of outsized ambition and outrageous excess. It traces the rise and fall of multiple characters during an era of unbridled decadence and depravity in early Hollywood. Matt, what'd you think of Babylon?
I like that even the synopsis says something about outsized ambition or oversized ambition, because that is Babylon. It is So this is the way I described it. It's way too much movie, but at the same time, not enough somehow. Like this is a 3 hour plus movie with so many plot developments and so many like, characters over here, characters over there. They intertwine with each other. Like, and all that stuff is so important. And yet it feels like so many of these arcs are underserved to a tremendous degree. It just doesn't feel like there was enough connectivity to bring everything together. And yet some of it is entirely engaging. I think that first hour that is running on pure like cocaine, adrenaline, and party atmosphere vibes that feels like the movie Climax that came out a few years ago, except if it was old Hollywood in the 20s. I love that. I'm not going to lie. Like, I absolutely love that stuff. But then 2 hours happen after that, and it just deflates after every minute. It's like a downhill slide after that. And for me, like, it ultimately ends up being an excruciating experience.
I wouldn't go as far to call it excruciating. Like I was mixed negative on it, but
Yeah.
I also wouldn't call the beginning of the movie that strong either. I remember, I'm a very big Lala fan. I love Damien's body of work in general. I love everything he's put out. I just don't love this. So I sat down and I was really excited, and I was especially excited to just like see, because he's such a great like visual creator too with his team. I was very excited to see how he brought that kind of like frenetic opulence to screen.
Yep.
And that's one of the key things that happens in the very beginning of the movie. There's a set piece that I was really looking forward to based on the trailer for the film. And like that is what he's trying to capture. But all the ways that the team is going about doing it, I think takes away from that feeling. Like the complaint that I had made, I believe in my social media reaction, was that like the visuals and the editing were too frenetic. And then someone said, well, that's the point. I get that that's the point, but you could either use that tactic in a way that enhances that kind of atmosphere and pace and feel, or you could do it in a way that doesn't work and doesn't immerse you in that kind of atmosphere in a catchy way. And that's what I felt. I felt that I could see those efforts rather than feel the actual story and the atmosphere that's supposed to be unfolding within the movie. And that was a huge disappointment to me.
Yeah, I think the chaos and the freneticism, like you just said, it works for me in the beginning because he's leaning into the idea that like Hollywood is just this like sinful cesspool, and to make it is not exactly having talent, it's just having the right connections, all these things. Like, he is playing into Hollywood stereotypes that we've seen over and over again, but doing so in a way that, to me at least, is off the wall, bonkers crazy, and at least engaging and entertaining. Like, there's a through line. There is a collection of thoughts that make sense in that first hour, and then getting to the Hollywood aspect of it and like going onto the sound stages and watching like these chaotic directors trying to direct scenes in like on the mountainsides and all this stuff.
That sound stage scene is above and beyond the best scene in this movie, and it might actually, even though I didn't love the movie overall, that might be one of my favorite scenes of the entire year.
Yeah. So again, like that stuff is all good. And then there's a moment where they start getting into the more dramatic arcs. And that is not to say Damien Chazelle cannot direct drama. We've seen this over and over again. He is a very competent director, and I adore most of his movies. But going back to it being bloated and going back to being too much, between Margot Robbie's character, between Brad Pitt's character, between everyone else we're having to follow, I just feel like there is so much commentary and so much satire mixed in that, say, someone like Tarantino or the Coen brothers, because like this very much feels like Chazelle's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It feels like he's trying to do his take on a kind of fictional, not that fictional, but like you decide what's real and what's not Hollywood. And in trying to do so, he doesn't have that same command over story that Tarantino has, that the Coen brothers have, and stuff like that. So that is where it unravels, and you start having to like parse these really deep moments of reflection and somebody's bottoms and their lows from then another goofy scene where I don't know, like something gross happens or something obnoxious happens. And I don't think he has a good balance there. And it just seems like he just keeps getting further and further. And the further he gets, the less control he has over everything going on.
The build isn't as refined as it needs to be in order to justify the many, I mean, I don't want to call them side stories because they all are supposed to connect in a way, but some of them do feel like, offshoot, like B story adventure type things.
Yeah.
And maybe this story would have played more successfully in the series format. I feel like that might be the zone where my mind might be conditioned and willing to accept that kind of storytelling. But as far as a 3-hour feature film goes, and especially one that feels like it's trying to make like a very like poignant and broad statement about the industry and what it means to be a part of it, it did not earn that. And in certain characters' cases, I was upset by how they tried to weave them into that last statement. In particular, Brad Pitt's character really didn't sit well. Like, it's not that it just didn't work. The point, or at least how I interpreted it based on one viewing, it bothered me. It really bothered me.
And again, that's like the weird highs and lows of Babylon. Is I adore the scene between Brad Pitt and Gene Smart, where you have an aging actor who's fading out of the limelight, talking to the critic who just published basically his goodbye piece, saying, "You're done in Hollywood. This guy's out of it." And you have this really poignant, thoughtful conversation about Brad Pitt being like, "I'm a failure," and Gene Smart again playing a critic, being like, "Literally, your entire legacy is going to live on for years, and has been like." It's been recorded, and like people will watch your movies decades from now and rediscover you. Like, you are the luckiest son of a bitch alive. Like, stop being so sad. And then, to your credit, what happens after that does such a disservice to that moment, because you have such a great moment. And then I just feel like Chazelle is so enamored by Hollywood and like adoring and obsessed with it. But on the other hand, he's like repulsed by it. And Babylon is basically stuck in the middle, and he doesn't know which way to go. And by not knowing which way to go, you have moments of sincerity that work, and you have these other really cynical moments that just it just counteracts what he's just done.
I do think it's fair to at least try to strike that balance between the two things, because those two things that you mentioned do exist in the real world, in real
100%.
Hollywood. And I very much understand trying to represent both things. But if you're going to do that, they just need to be woven together a little stronger than they are here.
Yeah.
Are you ready to score this? Because I'm certainly ready to score this. I've been thinking about this for a month now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm giving this 2.5 Deweys out of 5 on the Dewey Decimovie scale. There are some peaks in this movie, namely the soundstage scene that I just mentioned. There is also one scene in the middle of the movie that's focused on Margot Robbie that features some of the best physical comedy I've seen the entire year. There's a good chance I will rewatch this 3-hour movie often, but just scrub to that scene, watch it, turn it off, or maybe go back and rewatch it again. I think she is amazing in that particular moment, and more moments in this. But ultimately, I do not think the build was there to make me feel that end statement like I needed to, as someone who has basically built her entire existence around this industry and this art form. That seemed like it should have been like the gut punch that I guess someone like me would have full force embraced and loved, but they really just missed the mark. And there's a couple of sequences in this movie that I think are really easily cuttable, that don't add up to anything. And the fact that they weren't shaved off really took away from the experience for me.
Yeah, I will give you my rating of, if you want to read my deeper thoughts on it, my IGN review is now on IGN. So I've written the Babylon review. You can go there, and my number is going to be a 2. It's not even going to be 2.5. And it's so weird because, again, I will restate that some of the sequences in this film are some of my favorite of the year, but the length of the film and how much else is in there is what brings it down to a 2. And that's so disappointing because to go from some of the comments, like the score could possibly be an Oscar winner. Like, the score is so good, it could be an Oscar winner. There's some cinematography in there that is the best of the year. Some of the performance, as Perri mentioned before, some of the side quests or the side stories are actually, to me, the most impactful. And that, again, is why it's not as good as it should be, and why even like it just becomes a mess at the end, because you're focusing on the wrong people, you're giving them the wrong arcs. And I am someone who, if you've watched the live stream long enough, you know that I can deal with the cynicism and the lows as much as the highs. I have felt the hope in our industry, and I've also felt the hopelessness in our industry. And I don't think Babylon ever finds the balance between those, and it just ends up saying nothing. So that's my Babylon.
All right. That right there is our review of Babylon.
Wait, Babylon or Babylon?
Excuse me? What did you call it before now? Babby? What is your nickname for it?
Babylon or Babylon? Because it's way
Wait.
too long.
Oh, I didn't even hear the G when you first said that. I thought you were making some obnoxious joke that
Nope.
I wasn't getting. But what was your nickname for it earlier?
Oh, just Babby.
Just Babby.
Just Babby.
Babby. Eat some chicken nugs while watching Babby. All right.
No, never again.
I,
I'll listen to the score. I will listen to the score until.
I'll listen to the score, but I will probably also watch this movie again, just because.
That's fair.
Like I'm curious, and just like every movie, I want to like it. I'm obviously not going to force myself into liking something, but I want to try again. I want to try again, Matt.
Yeah.
All right, this is it. It's time. For everybody here who has not seen Avatar: The Way of Water, this is where we say goodbye. All you have to do is pause the video right here, then you go and you see the movie, and then after you come back to this video and you push play right here, and you can enjoy this conversation. But we do not want to spoil it for anybody, so this is it. Your one and only spoiler warning for Avatar 2, Avatar: The Way of Water. It is happening right now. Where to start? Where to start?
We can just say thank you. This is just a nice thank you.
Oh, just ordered my textbooks for next semester. I have $5 left. I want you to have it. That's so nice, Haunted Autumn. Thanks for all you both do. Thank you for being here and for the support, and good luck with your next semester. I know you're going to crush it.
Now to Avatar.
All right. So I brought I don't know why this is the first point coming to mind. It's very specific. Mm-hmm. The one bigger thing that bothered me in this movie, and I'm wondering if you felt the same way, because it bothered me, but I also understand why they did it. Okay. I had a hard time not thinking about the fact that that's Sigourney Weaver playing a 14-year-old Na'vi. And there's nothing wrong with her performance. And given who that character is, what she is, it makes all the sense in the world. And I think it's really cool to have Sigourney Weaver in that role.
Yeah.
But like even like thinking that and believing in what I just said, like it still took me out of the movie a bit.
The first time I saw her, I was like, is that Elle Fanning? Like literally, like to me, I couldn't. It was so weird. I had a moment. I knew it was Sigourney Weaver, but the way that it looked and the way that like the young character and her young de-aged self looked as a Na'vi, like I got Elle Fanning vibes crazy. Okay. But like, that didn't bother me that much. I think the undercharacterization of the children bothered me way more.
Really?
We're gonna have the talk that you think we're gonna have.
Like some of them have beefier roles than others, but I think they all going what they needed in order to like serve this particular chapter of the larger franchise. I wasn't so bothered by that. Going back before we like move away from Kiri, Sigourney Weaver's character, like the answer to her conception's pretty obvious, right?
Yeah, why?
Well, because they flat out state in the movie that like it is a mystery how she was conceived. Like they tried to transfer Grace Augustine over to her avatar body. That transfer failed. So instead of the transfer just flat out failing across the board, it basically implanted a child, like another version of Grace, I guess, in her avatar's body, and that is Kiri. So Kiri is born of Grace's avatar and Iwa. Iwa? I don't remember.
I think it's Iwa, right? Yeah. Iwa. What was that? Like, were people? That is how I interpreted it as well.
Okay, it is presented as though it's going to be a bigger mystery. Like there's flat out a line of dialogue that says it.
And again, that's kind of where I come along with I liked Avatar. We're not going to have a discussion about like positives or like me not liking it at all. But I do feel like as someone who still thinks Avatar is itself the original, underwhelming from a storytelling perspective, but again, freaking beautiful. Like that is what it is. That's what these movies are supposed to be. I did not feel like there was that big of a substantial tick up in storytelling for number 2. Versus how much the technology advanced, and again, how freaking good it looks.
Did you wind up rewatching Avatar before you saw this one?
I didn't bits and pieces, but I did not watch the whole
I
thing.
will tell you, because I've been saying the same thing since 2009. It's like, I get that they do new technical things, but the movie didn't really like move the needle for me much. I did revisit it, and I do understand that certain storylines and thematic points are done in a very basic, like non-revolutionary way
Yeah.
compared to the visuals, but like that really is some impeccable world building, and that is part of
World
the
building, yes.
scripting and the story. And really, like, I do think the general concept is very big screen friendly, very interesting, and I do think they throw in more than enough unique details in that 2009 narrative to give the script more credit than I had ever given it in the past. And also, I am just a very different movie watcher 13 years later, so
That is true.
I had a different reaction to it this last time.
I watched enough of it to realize that I didn't have to rewatch the whole thing to change my mind.
Yeah.
And again, this one for me, the world building, I agree with you on. The world building, that is what James Cameron puts all of his effort into, and I think it reflects more visual world building than it does on script. Because I can't help but get away from the fact that like this second screenplay just feels like emotional beats he has to hit and filler. Emotional beats, filler. I never found that much of a connection with these
Really?
characters. Absolutely, yeah. Again, the children,
so differently.
the children did not work for me. I can tell you that.
Lola didn't work for you? The middle child? I loved him. I loved that narrative of, him carving his own path and feeling like an outsider, and then basically like realizing his true self and not needing to fight for the example that his father and his big brother set by meeting this other outcast. I thought that was all especially well drawn.
So I don't agree, and I'm not saying that you can't. Obviously, I'm not saying you can't read it that way. I did not find the connection there that like I guess other people are. Like I think Jake Sully. Like obviously we all know Jake. I feel like all the other characters are less served here. I feel like we get stuck with the kids for maybe longer than we should because they're just playing these generic arcs that we've seen over and over again. The ecological and environmental storytelling, totally understand why that's important, and totally we shouldn't be subtle about that anymore. We should be over the head with this, but I didn't learn anything else that Avatar didn't teach me almost a decade ago. And I am all for visual spectacle and showcases. Like James Cameron's redefining how we're watching movies. Like that is happening, and that is amazing, and the technology he's bringing forward, that is worth going to see Avatar 2 for, and that is why I think it is a good movie. I just couldn't tell you how more I just sat there going, I'm enamored by what's on screen, but I'm not really going to remember anything that happened story-wise. Like the emotional beats just did, like you saw them coming miles away. He doesn't do anything to really like try to add a touch of subtlety or try anything different. You could script this out beat for beat from the beginning, and I like the visual impact is what I will forever remember and nothing else.
I'm not going to say that this is genius storytelling across the board, but when you have a significant ensemble like this, I feel like it's pretty much inevitable that certain characters will wind up with no arc and feeling as though they are placed in the narrative to serve a particular purpose in terms of moving that narrative forward and nothing more. Characters that fell in that category, I think the youngest Sully, Took, is obviously very thinly drawn. I look forward to seeing that role expanded in the future. Even the oldest son, I was very surprised that they killed him. Very surprised that they killed him. I did not expect them to go there.
Yeah, I will give you a little credit on, because we have this franchise planned. Cameron says we're going to get 5 of these movies. So I was in more the mindset of saying, okay, like they're going to do the death next movie in 3 or something. So, but I also think that is one of those scenes that feels cheap to me because it did the death immediately. Yes, absolutely. Because that is the easy, like, okay, we're going to use this brother for storytelling for the middle brother. And we all know that's coming.
No, though. It's not just for the other brother. That's where all of that material hanging out with the kids comes in handy. Like that builds to that point where, like, when one of those pieces that you've seen together and you've very much understood how they function as a family dynamic and where they fit in, when one of those pieces is then yanked away and like it vanishes, it It hurts. And also, I think that scene is especially impactful because of how damn good Zoe Saldana is as Neytiri, because that's another role that I think is very underserved in this movie. The way that I put it in my non-spoiler review is she doesn't get her own journey in this movie. She's going on Jake's journey. And the only reason that that character really works is because Zoe Saldana at like the drop of a hat can make you believe in like maximum emotion from that character. I thought her performance was something else. And I think she elevated what was on the page for her tenfold.
So all I can say is the opposite. Again, there is no fight on this, but it's the way I perceived that was she was relegated to the background. I understand this is Jake's journey. I understand this is the kid's journey. But in that same sense, this is a 3 hour and 10-minute movie. And I don't think she had to be relegated to the background. And what you're saying about how she elevates just the yells and the screams, like Zoe Saldana is A+ Hollywood screamer, like very good at doing those kind of moments and bringing so much emotion into a yell that is just a yell. I did not feel that here. I felt she would just show up, give a yell, and that was it. And I felt like she was wasted. I actually don't think she made the most of her time. I think she actually was like forgotten about in scenes.
Oh wow. Clearly I disagree on that. There's one particular line where like I cackled. Like she like snaps at someone like you didn't even do anything, or like I'm not paraphrasing.
That's the one line. No, that is the one line where I left the movie and I think me and Amelia were both like, she was wasted, but that one line rules.
It's a very, very, very good line.
You have done nothing for me, basically. Yeah, like she just yells like you have done nothing for me.
I think it's just like literally like you have done nothing.
Yeah. Yes. Again, perfect. But we didn't get enough of that.
I need to like clip that out and play it at people when I get mad or something.
That better be in your end of year recap. That has to be like somewhere in there.
Really, just like randomly at the end. It's like that's like my post-credit scene.
But like, I guess there are just other moments because like if we're talking spoilers, I mean, the third act is action-packed. And again, the technology looks so good in those sequences. Like there is some time. We'll actually get to the tech because I do believe there are some faults there too as well. But continuing this thought I have.
I think we had different projection experiences because I've been hearing a lot about what I think you tweeted about, but I don't think we had that problem where I screened the movie.
I can believe that. Like, again, like projection everywhere is crazy. And you saw it at the premiere where it's going to be exactly how it is intended to be watched.
We didn't even see it in the theater where the main premiere was happening. We saw it in like an offshoot theater, which is where we got the opportunity to screen it for our interviews. And
nice.
That theater was like everything was spot on. The projection was crisp and perfect. The sound was impeccable. Like we were definitely watching that movie in a prime environment for it.
Well, so I'll stick there then, and I'll just keep with that because I do believe, coming into this, I saw some early reactions saying it feels like motion smoothing. It feels like, the HDR and stuff like that. Like it can't like keep up the frame rate, all of that stuff. They're all the technical jargon. But the easy way to say it is like, yeah, I did kind of feel like that. It felt like motion smoothing was left on. And sometimes it looked phenomenal. Sometimes the visual, like the underwater sequences were just out of this world. It looked so good. But then there were other times where like the movie felt like it couldn't keep up with itself. And I saw it during action sequences. And it would be where someone gets like pulled off of a boat or something like that. And it just looks like this.
Someone's arm goes flying. I think that might be my single favorite shot in this movie.
So oddly enough, it wasn't the arm. The arm, I laughed. I was like, that's good. That's a good shot.
I loved it. I loved it.
But it would be like when someone gets pulled off, or like Neytiri shoots someone with the bow and they go flying off the boat. It looked like this little action figure that was like a statue just flying across this digital screen. Like it just didn't look right to me. And it again, I will say it like the film tried to keep up with itself visually, and sometimes it gets ahead of itself, and it feels like the processor is overworked, and it just has these little spurts where like it goes down, and that's. So again, this is James Cameron setting the tone for films to come, and I can't wait to see what other people do with this technology. But also, I hope it doesn't become the cut rate version of that, because like remember when 3D got popular and everyone was like, "Oh, like 3D movies are going to be the next big thing," but they just went for the cheap version and they didn't do the full potential of what 3D should have been. They just tried to get the cash in attempt. I hope we don't get the cash in attempt version of Avatar moving forward, and it just feels like the janky motion smoothing aspect of all this.
I didn't see what you're referring to. I'm not saying you didn't see it, but like I think a lot of that comes down to where you actually screen this movie. I wanted to go back to Neytiri really quick because I think Ezra makes a good point. I think Neytiri trusts Jake and pays the price for it, and how she loses her son and becomes consumed by rage. Like, I think this is how they're going to beef up that character in the future.
I agree with that.
The only thing that, like, I get this, and I think this is what they were going for, and I think this is what I felt while watching the movie. The only thing that I would have liked more of is, like, Neytiri only knows one way of life. She's lived with the Omaticaya clan in the forest forever, and all of a sudden, like, I know she trusts Jake, but all of a sudden he makes the decision, like, it's best for the people if we leave. I wanted like one private moment to feel that she trusted him to that extent, to leave everything she's ever known and go on this journey to another clan.
And
feel
like,
if there was one more scene, then I would have 100% gotten behind this, but I still felt this.
So, like, I understand, and again, like, that is understood. I understand that's implied, and then we just kind of like go along with it. But to your credit, exactly, I needed that private scene. I needed more conversations. And again, this is a 3-hour and 10-minute movie. We have plenty of time for that. Like, in a 90-minute follow-up movie, I totally understand. You're just trying to get to the next movie. It's the mid chapter. You have all this plotted out. That's fine. But you have taken 3 hours and 10 minutes just to focus on Jake Sully in the second film. I don't think that's necessary. I think there was a lot of shots in there and a lot of filler material that could have been treated in ways. And I know, again, we are on this visual ride, and that is what we're supposed to be doing. But 3 hours and 10 minutes worth of it, I don't think so.
It's not all Jake Sully, though. I think
it's also Stephen Lang's character.
I think
it's also
the primary journeys here, or the ones that feel more like main characters, where certain other ones are more of a supporting role. Like, the best arcs were definitely were Jake, were Recom, Colonel Quaritch. I think Spider's arc was especially effective, and I think Jack Champion did like a hell of a job in that role. That is not an easy thing for an actor. Like,
no, what he did was not easy.
Young actor to be able to sell. I thought he was quite exceptional. And then my favorite character of the entire film was Loak. I thought Britton Dalton was absolutely phenomenal, and that was the story that kind of like got to my heart the most.
Yeah, I didn't. Again, this will just be the thing that we won't see eye to eye on is the kids. And that is, again, a telling reason of like why you enjoyed it more than I did, because correct, like, this is the kids movie as much as it is Jake's in a way. So you 100%, if you're into those arcs, you're going to be fine.
Kiri. I didn't name Kiri. She's
Kiri, yeah.
I actually think this is more,
I like Kiri the most.
This is more the kids movie to me than it is the adult movie. Like, Jake does have a very big role, and he's a major part of the driving force of the narrative. But I think most of the more like intimate time is spent with the kids processing the influence that their parents have put on them, but also figuring out who they are as individuals and how they could impact the people and the world around them. And like, in terms of what I just described, I think Kiri, Spider, and Loak have really powerful and effective journeys in that respect.
Yeah. I mean, for me, honestly, the best character arc is the whale. So
I love the whale.
Honestly, the best character arc in this movie is the whale. Straight up.
Payakan. The whale has a name. He's not an outcast. He has been accepted. Are there any other big points you want to hit on Avatar?
Again, that third act. Like, the third act is, again, that's something that is so impressive when you were looking at the action set pieces and how clear and fluid all that looks, and it is so cool. But then there's moments like, where did the Water Clan go? Like, why did the Water Clan just disappear towards the end and stuff like that? Like, there are points that just don't seem well thought out, and Cameron is serving these singular moments. Some of them I just don't agree with, or just think that they were actually thought to the fullest.
I'll definitely give you some points there. I mean, they
just went away so that it could be a dramatic moment.
I do kind of understand why that end set piece should be so contained, because it was primarily focused on the Sully kids. And I think they also make it really clear that in Ronald's case in particular, the character that Kate Winslet plays, is that Like even at the beginning, she's apprehensive about letting the Sullys come to stay in her clan because her
Yeah,
priority is her people.
yeah.
So
And I understand that, but they don't do. Yeah,
ultimately, like when her kid has been rescued and there's less of a direct threat, I could kind of see why she like leaves
but
Neytiri.
then you got you're my brother moment. So it's like they pass that once they go into battle together, like they're
Oh,
together. I don't. It's again. I actually liked the movie. I'm a 3 out of 5 on it. I am right that leaning positive. I am not trying to say I don't see or anything like that, but I can't do the hype on it.
I
It's just the
can.
one thing I can't.
Right.
I hope to be changed. I hope to be changed in the next movie, and I will obviously not bet against Mr. Cameron. That is not what I'm doing here. Like it's going to make all the money. I understand it, but
There is no denying that some story elements are a bit weaker than others, but I think some of these character arcs are pretty strong, and there's like a really solid like baseline that made the story overall play well for me. But like this is like a damn technical marvel.
it's
Like
crazy. It's
I
wild.
I can't get over the fact that like I put my butt in a theater seat and I feel like I was literally like lifted out and transported to a moon with Navi and all this
Yeah.
detail. It
The
felt
one.
felt so real. Like the fact
Well,
that what
I I'm gonna go with this a little bit. I do agree with this comment a bit.
really?
Absolutely, yeah. It looks so real that it becomes not real. He is
Oh, I
Cameron has
totally
transcended
disagree
where we've
with
gotten
this.
to.
Because this
Yeah,
this is usually a complaint that I do have with certain technical things in film and television is I
yeah.
usually think it has that look, and it was like staggering to me that this movie didn't have that feel, and just like
Oh, I had that.
how incredibly right it looks when a digital Navi character is standing next to a human character, and I not for a second doubt that like they truly exist in the same world.
Yeah,
I also am like totally obsessed with how rain and just like water in general like glistens off of a Navi face. I don't know. The literally everything about the visuals and the technical achievements on this movie are blowing my mind. I thought that part of it was impeccable.
yeah. It again, it looked tremendous in scenes for me. And again, maybe it was my project. Like it honestly could have been the way I saw the film. So like certain parts of it
Mhm.
raises the bar to a level that we will probably never see again, unless other filmmakers can use this technology the same way Cameron does. But we'll see what happens there.
Well, I actually asked John Landau that. It's just that
Oh,
like I
okay.
said, what piece of technology that you developed are you most looking forward to seeing other filmmakers get to use in the future? And
There you go.
he did, like we'll see if they actually see this through, but I do believe them. He says, the point isn't just to keep all of this for ourselves. Like we want to see what other people create with what we've started here. And I think we have seen that a bit in terms of Avatar and how it's changed the industry. So I have to believe that these tools will be accessible to other filmmakers now.
But Avatar was on the forefront of that whole 3D binge or 3D push, and that died away real
Well,
quick.
you can't control how other filmmakers will
No,
use
100. I
technology.
agree.
All,
Yeah,
all you can do is create something to facilitate the best possible storytelling, and then hope that everybody use. And it's also like I can't even necessarily blame flaws with 3D on a filmmaker or a storyteller. It was also a
well,
major like studio agenda to beef up theater prices and make the most bang for their buck. And also like theaters weren't outfitted to properly screen movies that way.
or they were
Glass,
post production 3D where they just did
well,
do
there
it
was
in
a lot of
post.
that. I mean, even just getting a pair of glasses that were like smudged and gross, and like theater employees are
That
working
was
hard. They're working hard enough, but like that's like a whole nother level of the process that needs to be maintained a certain way in order to have the maximum effect.
no, I agree with that, and that's why I was saying like I don't blame the filmmakers. I do blame the studios. But again, the lesson learned from the 3D, I guess, onslaught. Let's say what happened around Avatar and stuff like that is that most studios, like you just said, just wanted 3D to beef out the prices, and other people are doing it. So yeah, let's go do it and just add it in post. We don't have to do it during filming. We don't have to do all the right ways. And it died off because the people spoke against it. And I just hope again with Avatar 2 setting another precedent and introducing new technology that studios don't fall into the same like trap. You know, they don't just say like, well, we just need to do our own Avatar too, but we can't do it the same way James Cameron did. We can't give a filmmaker 10 years and like, you know, billions of, you know, however much money he wants to do this. And that's going to be an issue. So I am curious to see what happens next. I am hopeful, but also jaded.
Well, we are getting Avatar 3. They have filmed most of it. They've shot a small part of 4, I believe. So we'll see what happens next. I see some big money on the horizon.
Oh yeah. All right. I need to go to the brewery.
Out of here.
Yeah, it's brewery time.
Yeah. Fun. Have a beer for both of us. I'm going to go work my butt off. I've got stuff to prepare for.
My family's suburban Jersey town got its first brewery, so we're going to go check it out.
That's exciting. I want a full review next time.
I will let you know how it goes.
Do you want to plug anything before you say goodbye?
God, yeah. At Donatobomb, Twitter, Letterboxd, Instagram. Hive is back now, so you can find me on Hive. I'm building up there once again. And even just today alone, what did I put out? I did a little piece on horror anthologies. I did the 15 scariest moments of the year on a Slash film. I reviewed Babylon on IGN, and I have a video coming to IGN next week on their like accompanying YouTube channel Cinefix. That is a 30-minute deep dive into Christmas horror. So
cool.
Woot. That's coming.
I can't wait to watch that. Yeah. I'll just tell everybody, given our last conversation, to go watch all of my Avatar: The Way of Water interviews. They're all up and running on the Collider Interviews YouTube channel. So watch and enjoy. We don't come back. Does Christmas happen before or after our next show?
We have one more. We have one more, and then Christmas is Sunday. Christmas is Sunday.
In that case, enjoy the lead up to Christmas, and we'll wish you a Merry Christmas on next week's show. Goodbye. We will see you all soon.